Time for my typical prologue warning here at the beginning of my long videos. As always, guys, there will be timestamps below with the questions if you care to skip ahead, as well as the timestamps for the demo. The palette you will see in this video is the only sample they have in the US, and Alphonse was bringing that on the road to some of the makeup shows that he's been going to, so I was not able to swatch this. I did want to get this video posted on Thursday, like I said I would. I will have one of these palettes in my hand on Thursday. I'm just not sure what time, depending on when FedEx delivers, and I didn't want to hold this up for that. This video is more about the creation of the palette, answering some questions and demoing. Check back tomorrow on Muse's site and my site and Viseart's site if you want to see them swatched in my typical fashion. Thanks for your patience, guys. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are here with Viseart and Muse for some new exciting products that we want to talk to you guys about. So before we get into the brand new palette, we're going to get into the different variations that Viseart offers and the ideas behind them.
Okay, so we have Petite Pro, which was an introductory to our brand. It's magnetized as well, so the pro artist and the beauty enthusiast can depot, move things around, put it in different palettes if they want to. Theory is a hybrid between our Pro palette and a magnetized size palette, which can be flipped from each different palette. I mean, so you can go from Theory 1, 2, 3, 4, and mix and match, which is lovely. So we really wanted to offer something that is pro to the everyday person. And then we had this beautiful idea of creating a palette that could be used on red carpet, could be used for the everyday beauty enthusiast with our pro formula, and we wanted to make it in a way that somebody could actually have a proper mirror and see themselves and get their makeup done, whether it's just using a Viseart product or they're doing their mascara or they're doing their lipstick. We wanted to incorporate our beautiful history of being a Paris brand, and fortunately, we all have a love of the golden hour in Paris, which is related to standing on the bridge over the river and watching the sunset. And it's a time of day when everybody comes together and they just, in global humanity, enjoy that moment. And the other thing that people do on that bridge is they put locks of love. So this is our ode to the streets around Paris, the scenery, our heritage, and also the fact that I was getting married. So it's my golden hour as well, but it's everyone's golden hour. So it has all the colors of that time of day, and they can be mixed and matched. So we've got the 4 mattes, and we've got 5 shimmers. I'm not good at math. So that was the theory behind that. And then we moved on with a beautiful collaboration. I mean, we've always collaborated with Muse Beauty, one way or another, because they are just our loves. And Alphonse is brilliant at what he does. But we moved forward with something that we've been wanting to do for a very long time, and that is the mama of Petite Pro. We have
the Grande Palette.
Ooh.
So we're very excited to be talking about this today. It's great.
It's beautiful.
Sure.
I can't wait to dig in later. Swatches. So what was the concept behind the Grande Palette?
So the Grande Palette, over the course of, I don't know, 5-6 years we've been working together, and often when we go to make a collection, Paris will make variations of colors, and sometimes we'll make colors we're like, oh, we love that, but it's not right for this one project. So we have archives and archives of beautiful shades. And so we were looking through them, and it's like, God, we have so many beautiful colors that it was great to be able to pull from the archives, as well as some of the amazing new pigments that are in the industry. But then from there, we also get these requests all the time from makeup artists, like, oh, I wish that shade was available, or I wish that shade was available, because they hit 10.
Yeah.
So we were able to kind of bring the best of all of that together and create the Grande Palette.
Oh, nice. So are there some duplicate shades from the most popular shades that you guys have? Ooh, yay.
Yes.
My mom's going to be excited because she always uses all of these on her lid. And she's like, oh,
the Grande Palette in itself, basically, this is a limited edition collection, or should we say a collector's edition. And it includes 30 matte shades which Viseart does so well. And within this you have about six existing shades. Some from the Matte Palette 1, I think we have some from
Cool Mattes.
So some of the classic shades that people have requested. But in addition to that, they're just beautiful shades that, like we said, we pulled from the archives.
We did something very similar to what we'd done with our Theory collection and Petite Pro. We magnetized all of them so they're little wells. So in the case that an artist is moving very quickly and needs to just pop out some shades and stick them into a certain palette with, you know, other brands that they're using as well, they can do that. And for the everyday person who just loves makeup, they can go through here and with one of their Theory palettes, they can pop these out and put them into Theory and then take them with them on holiday or
It's a full wardrobe.
to work.
Yeah.
So it's a full wardrobe. And like you said, but one of the great things about having it like this as well is that our intention was just put the best of the best. But now we've got to use like better than the best of the best, the things that we really loved. So having that, as you can see, it is quite different than the matte that we already have.
Oh yeah, well these are the best colors too for like things that people use the most for brow bone highlight, maybe all over lid, inner corner. So you can never have too many of those shades.
Right. So it's fantastic.
Oh, I'm good right now, thank you.
All right, good. You can go whatever you want. Go whatever you want. All right.
I always wonder how you guys or like brands pick shadows, like or shades. Like when you're narrowing it down, do you always think like while you're doing a makeup look, like you know what I need?
Oh, and when I first started with Viseart, one of the main things that I was doing was to be on set a lot and spending time with artists and watching what they were looking for and what they needed and how they were mixing shades. And then I would take notes on all of those details and then come back and sit with Alphonse, and then we would talk about what he saw in education, what he was seeing from fashion, and he knows other brands quite well because he worked with Kevin Aquan and True, and he was just like, there's some holes. And so we spent a lot of time just collaborating on that. And then also some of the other artists that are in film, also asking, saying, could you just make me a few things because we're traveling a lot, and so we did. Like we'd mix up certain things and I'd send it over to them, and we would look at it and be like, we can't do anything with this, you know, and there'd be like foundations actually that we would mix up and a harder base. So there are all kinds of things that we were doing because we have a little lab and little manufacturing, you know, site in Paris, and that was fun. Like that was a lot of fun, and I'd really like to get Viseart in a position where we can do more of that again, because it's just, you know, it's so innovative.
Yeah.
There's also too, when it comes to like, it's great to have an idea and a concept which we'll come up with, and we all throw around different ideas. And then there's a point where it's like, okay, well, in order for that color to read well in the skin, whether it's in a certain lighting or if it's an everyday environment, it's the undertone. And then from there really comes the work. That's when we really put a lot into how we develop every shade, test it all the way from the beginning all the way through to final production. So there's a lot that goes into it. Basically, it's color theory. You know, all colors really are derived from color theory. But then from there, your texture and the payoff is really what will make or break a product.
I mean, it's a lot of work.
Well, you guys are cool because you're a brand that is like a Megatron of beauty. You all connect your different strengths to, because you have artists too that are working, and then you're behind the scenes on set and things, so you guys can all help each other.
Well, it's also because we're global. So if Alphonse is based here in our sister city, and then I'm in the global arena, I can see, you know, kind of more of what's going on, and it's just really helpful to have all of that. And I think Alphonse is being quite humble when he says, you know, it's the undertone and all of that. I mean, he takes these products as we're in development mode, and he goes to the schools and he spends time, and he's just, he's like the guru of swatching people. No, really, and it's kind of like, he's like the golden touch, and he makes sure that this is going to work and it's not going to end up ashy on someone, because the last thing you want is for a human being to look gray and dead.
Well, especially if we're making the claim that, you know, that this is a color that's going to read beautifully on a dark skin. You know, we want to make sure that what we say, that it's really authentic. And I think for the most part, the makeup artists that rely upon Viseart, that is what they expect.
Yeah.
And not only do they expect it for themselves, so that when they're doing their work, they expect it because their job is relying on it. And they can get fired. I mean, honestly, and it's a huge responsibility that we have to these makeup artists to make sure that we are qualifying what we're doing, you know? I mean, really. And the time that we spend at the very end in that first press, which is, you know, we think, I mean, we ran into an issue of, oh, first press, we pressed them in here just to test the small babies, other shades, new shades, actually some of these. And then we went to go put them into the larger format. It didn't look the same. Same thing, same batch, didn't look the same. And the pressing didn't look the same. And so we're like, oh God. And then
so much that goes into it, right?
Yeah,
From the size of the pan, the PSI, the fill, you know, if it's a mica formula, if it's a matte formula. It is, there is no, it's, you know, easy bake 1, 2, 3.
No, there is no easy bake.
There is no easy bake.
I mean, we have spent hours and hours where we can't sit there anymore doing it. And you're like, okay, next day. Or your eyes just change because you can't keep looking at the colors anymore, you know? So
well, I think that's something interesting too that we were talking about, even the last time I sat down with you, is just talking about the difference between pro makeup and makeup that's maybe targeted more towards the everyday person, because I think sometimes there's some misunderstanding about that people think it's like kind of snotty in the way that you say that, but it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, like you guys see, what you see is has to be what you get. First, where like I can maybe go swatch a bunch of eyeshadows from a different brand that's not really a pro brand, and it can maybe turn color or oxidize slightly or shift in color, and you're like, whatever, I'm just putting it on my eye. But when your job depends on recreating something again.
Yeah, it's continuity, you know, in a movie, continuity in a photo shoot. You know, if something gets lost or something happens, like they've got to be able to go back and know that they can count on that to be what it's supposed to be. So it's not about being snotty, it's actually about protecting our artists and making sure that they have a livelihood.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, that's
you know, and I think that's probably why too, again, when people and now they more understand like the pricing tier and why it is the way it is, you know, handmade products. But again, that also goes into all the development that you guys do, all the research and making sure that it's all true to color, which is awesome.
You know, it's interesting, you picked up on a couple things. So, you know, pro makeup. Professional makeup is usually non-active, so there's not a lot of skincare benefits to it. 2, you'll find that it's very pigment rich, or it should be pigment rich. Whereas a brand that you might pick up in a retail environment or online, that's for the everyday enthusiast, they might be more sheer. Because it's easier. It's not something you have to blend. But what Viseart is known for is what you see is what you get. You get rich pigment payoff. You have very little fallout, and you won't have one of these shades. You put it on, all of a sudden it's going to turn a different shade, and that's important because when Natasha's right. I mean, if you're doing continuity and you have to do the same, reshoot a scene in a movie, and you have to, the makeup artist has to basically do the exact same makeup, and if it doesn't read the same or look the same, well, that makeup artist is going to get really frustrated and just not want to work with this. So it becomes a tried and true, and that's really why the palette one is really almost, in most makeup kits, it is relied upon. And
we feel very responsible for our artists and what they're expecting. I mean, when we're at a trade show and we run into our artists and, you know, giving us hugs and what's going on, what's new, and I hope you made that one green, did you make that one purple, you know, and when they're thanking us, it's this level of like, you know, okay, like we're doing something right here for them. So it's a collaboration in so many ways. It's an emotional thing, and when we see our artists winning Emmys, you know, I mean, like that is just, I mean, of course they're using many different brands, but I do know that they're using a heck of a lot of Viseart because I can see the charts. And they'll send us a message on Facebook usually, and it's like, thank you. Thank you. And it's wonderful. So to pass that on to the everyday woman and for her to know that she can count on it, that's a beautiful feeling too, because we're in the business to make people feel their best, you know, and give them that confidence, because it's a very personal experience with makeup, you know, and like you remember what makeup you were wearing on your wedding day, you know, or on that job interview, or, you know, if your face is breaking out and you're having issues, you know, it's...
You remember all those things.
Yeah, you remember all those things.
So why the launch in the pro market first for this Grande Palette?
Well, that's really the root of where Viseart began.
That's our heritage.
That's the heritage.
Yeah, the brand started in 2001 in Paris, and we've always been a pro brand. So we wanted to stick to our roots and make sure that we're giving people what they expect, high quality mattes.
Well, with this also too being 30 shades, we understand that not the everyday person may need or want 30 shades. Now, there's a lot of collectors out there they're foaming for this, but as a makeup artist, 30 matte shades it's really laid out in a very specific way. It makes sense that we created something very special for the pro market.
It's an ode to that heritage, and an ode to those artists that work so long and so hard, you know.
It reminds me of a painter's palette.
Yes.
You just slide your arm maybe right there. You guys should make a little sleeve on it.
Yeah.
Put it right up on there and then use it on your arm.
Well, it's the easel, so it's very easy. I mean, whether it's like laid on the station and you're working, or if you are holding it as well, so it's great. It actually is the palette.
And we're very lucky too, because we have my brother-in-law, who's got an amazing company, who does our packaging with us in collaboration. And so it's our proprietary packaging, and it's just that part of it is a joy too, because he's an artist.
Yeah.
So he gets to take all of his industrial design skills and put it into this, along with the other items that he works on. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love this I love this. I love the texture on the outside of this. It's just,
this is
pretty.
Alphonse. Alphonse coming and saying, let's do something a little different.
Make it sexy too.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
You know, so we could talk about that too, because I think you know, makeup artists, we want nice things. We want something that's sexy and fun and
a lot of people are involved in fashion first, and you know, it's like you want a little.
It does. It looks like a nice bag. That's what it reminds me of.
Right, huh? Exactly.
Yeah. Or like a nice portfolio or something.
Sure.
Yeah, it was meant. Yeah, kind of like meant to be like a nice portfolio, or actually a nice book.
A nice
and
book.
Let's talk about Alphonse's book collection.
Yeah, I know. Now I know. I didn't know you collect books. Now I know. I should have known. I should have known.
I think this is a limited edition of what he actually has.
This is the new office version, but at home I love books. I love books. For me, it's my inspiration. It's basically, I love photography, whether it's on fashion and art, because I think it really does capture a moment, and I love the art of collaboration. And when I look at a magazine or I look at an art book, I think about, from my personal experience, everyone's vision that comes together to create that moment, from the muse to the artist to the hair to the photographer to the lighting to the art director. So I love my books for that reason. It gives me my moment in time. And I think when we came together, I said, you know, let's create, you know, we want to create this special palette, but let's make it special. You know, let's make it really special. And that's why, with it being a collector's edition, it is a limited piece, which is nice, or a collector's piece.
I like that. So how many of these are going to be made?
We're starting with 3,000, so there'll be 3,000 pieces that will be numbered. So one of 3,000, and so on and so on. And then we'll see from there.
I wonder who's going to get the number one.
I don't know.
I think we're going to have to flip a coin or something.
I was about to say, you guys are going to have to bring it in the background and I'm
Exactly.
Yes,
it's all
exactly.
good. So, but we'll start with the 3,000 pieces. It was a big project for us to do, and as we said, bringing it into the pro market was where we wanted to launch it. And then between the makeup artists and the makeup collectors, I think it'll move fast.
And I think it'll be very nice too for people to have, like I said before, the option of flipping colors back and forth, playing. And I'd like to see, I think we both like to see how
other people
if that's utilized and how they like that. And if we see that it's like anything that we do, if we see that people really love it, perhaps we'll come out with more. But we'll see, you know. But we do need to focus on our main line, and this does take quite a bit of time.
So what made you guys pick all mattes?
Well, I think, well, one, it's what Viseart's known for.
Yes.
They're known for their mattes. They have such a great following with them because they're pretty tried and true. Something else that we also do within specifically the Pro palettes, there either will be all matte or all satin or metallic. We don't mix the different mediums
in the Pro.
Within the Pro, because when you're on set and you need all matte, you can't have a little flick of mica that maybe has fallen over from another one. So that's why we pretty much started in that direction.
Because if you get the mica into a palette like this and then it gets on the actor's eye or the model or whoever, it actually creates a spot.
Oh, you can see
in the photo. But the everyday person, it's not going to cause that issue, which is why when we did Theory, we said, okay, we can mix the two mediums.
Sure.
But for an artist, if they buy Theory, what they do immediately is to separate them out. And they'll put all the mattes in one and all the shimmers in the other. So that's how we got through that.
And matte medium is really how you create shape and dimension to one's face. You know, bringing a little metallic or a little satin, which we love, is a way to bring a feature forward. But the way to actually shape and contour and to maybe bring certain features back, well, you have to use matte.
So how many shades are new in this palette, and then how many are some of your most popular?
Well, so we've had some discussions back and forth because we've been in production every week with this now for, I don't know.
Quite some time.
Quite some time, quite some time. From building of the actual palette itself, designing it, to the shades. And as that process has been going by and we're checking the shades, it's starting to turn out that we're modifying and modifying and modifying to get the color to come the way we want and for the consistency and the payoff. So I do believe that it started out that we were going to just have 6 new shades, and now that's flipped. That actually there are 6 shades that are the originals, and the rest are all new. Yeah, and it could end up being 5. I mean, one of the shades that we were struggling with looks like it got modified a little bit more, and it's even better than what the original was supposed to be.
So how would a palette like this benefit a pro working makeup artist?
Okay, so with that being said, first of all, what we did is how we laid out the colors. So with each row is basically a harmonious undertone of a pigment. So the very first row that you see here is really from the light peach all the way down into the siennas and like a Swiss chocolate. So it's that same thread of undertone all the way through. The second row is a little bit more of a neutral to an ochre base. So really keeps more of that olive tone. The third is more of a, I guess you would say like a shell or a cameo tone, all the way threaded through into a deep mahogany. Hence why you see the intensify shades there. And the next one is more of a pale pink all the way into the violets. And then this one would start with a soft white all the way down into the blacks, the grays, and the cobalt. So therefore it makes it really easy that way. Now the first column, basically your base eyeshadows for fair skin. So fair to medium skin, you would have your base shades. The second row could be base shades for medium to deeper skin tones. And then you would have your contour shades, you know, once again for either one of these skin tones, and then from there you have your intensifiers or accessory colors, and then your definers. So it really is kind of systematic. So when a makeup artist is working, it almost becomes second nature. The last thing we're going to do is be thinking about, it should be this color or this color. A lot of times we don't like to mix too much for continuity's sake. If you're doing editorial, that's a different story. Then you can mix and get really creative. Also, we wanted the least amount of footprint. Some of the palettes that are out there in the market, there's so much packaging that for us, we don't want a lot of packaging. We want something really small and concise that we can put in the box, something that's going to protect the product, and most importantly, something that we're going to be able just to set up and get going and start working. Having a bunch of compacts with all these little mirrors, next thing you know, you take up so much of your space to set up that it's just not realistic. When you're working with a private client, you got to be able to set up in 5 minutes, and you have to be able to leave within 2. Because usually the Uber's waiting. They're like, hey, you got to go now. Exactly.
When we talk about intensifiers, I think sometimes the everyday person doesn't understand what that means. They see the shades and they think, oh, they're really beautiful. And they are really beautiful. But actually, they mix in and they can change a tone. So this row is meant for that purpose. You know, so it's multi-use, and Viseart's known for having a multi-use. And also, with some of these tones, people will say, I'm going to mix that in with some lip gloss. or your pigment's so great that actually I'm using that as contour, or I'm using that as blush. So this is what we're kind of known for as well. Eyeliner, you know.
Right.
So.
Well, this one in particular too is a pigment palette. This is not, we're not naming this as an eyeshadow palette, it's a pigment palette.
Oh, okay.
You have very rich pigments that a professional makeup artist would need at times to to create more creative style looks.
So may I ask for the at-home consumer, how would they mix these in? Would they dip into these colors first, or the lighter colors and then the intensifiers?
I would suggest doing a sandwich because I like food. So I might do either light, dark, light, or dark, light, dark. So if you come up with a system, therefore you can make sure you have the same value on both eyes. And that's usually one of the best ways to kind of mix in that color. Or if you do your contour shade, and we'll do demos in a little bit, maybe what you want to do is do a light sheer dusting of this over it as a transition. So it gives you that harmonious blend over the ocular ridge there.
Like oftentimes somebody wants to make a tawny shade a little bit. They're like, I just need a little bit more because it's going to make my eyes look more green or blue. And so they're going to want to just tap in a little bit of this, you know, on their eye, and then go back to this and then buff it in. So.
And at the end of the day, it's makeup, you know, right? And it's about having fun with it. And I think that's what, whether it's the enthusiast all the way to the makeup artist, is someone that can actually just, I mean, you got 30 colors to play.
Yeah. So one thing I see a lot too, because you guys know I review a lot of makeup, and even just on Instagram, a lot of times consumers are kind of go crazy about the limited edition because either they want to make sure that they can get it whenever, or they want to make sure that it's not crazy hype, and I know that's never your guys' intention to drive people insane. So why are you guys making this limited edition?
Well, I think we kind of talked about it first. I mean, it was a big project. It's 30 shadow palettes. We know it's a little bit more of an investment piece. We also wanted to make something that was really special for the makeup artist. In addition to that, and sexy, something kind of special and sexy. And it is numbers, so it's a collector's item.
Yeah.
And then from there, then that's to be determined.
Right. I mean,
what happens next?
Right. I mean, we're a small brand. We're not, you know, one of the bigger brands that has mass production.
Yeah.
And so we pay great wages, and we take a lot of time to get these things built. This is a very big investment for our company to have made, and we have to see that it is successful before we put more in, because we don't want to risk, you know, our people and their work and their jobs because we've decided to overinvest in something.
Yeah.
So when you own a company, you have to be responsible with what you're doing. So this isn't about hype. It's about being responsible.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's understandable. So what happens if you guys, for your pre-sale, sell all 3,000 pieces? Are you guys open to possibly making more, even though maybe they wouldn't be numbered, so that collector's edition, but maybe down the road?
It's something, I mean, we have to see how, I mean, our production schedule too, you know, we plan a year in advance.
Yeah.
So we started working on the golden hour last July, for instance. And so there are things that are put in production to move forward. And you don't want to run out of your ability to make neutral matte, which is very important for set, or editorial brights, which is very important for set, because you now have taken all of that time up to build more of these. So we really need to see how it turns out. And Viseart, we might have a small collection of them on hand because of our artists that have been so loyal to us and so supportive, and they know exactly who they are, and to make sure that they are covered, because that's important.
Yeah.
And then just see. So I think it's really going to be a wait and see, you know, and then we'll make a decision. I think making also a collaborative decision is important, and not just, you know, me as a CEO saying, this is what I want.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I like that too, because it just helps people at home to understand that, like, we're not trying to make you foam at the mouth and go crazy for this to make it limited quantities, but it is because
Viseart's a very different company because we are very rooted in pro. Just very different. That's where we will always be coming from. So whether it's our new products that we're releasing in January, which or next fall, you know, we've been working really hard on some other things as well. So, what do you do all day, Anastasia? What do you do all day?
I lounge.
I just eat bonbons. Yes. Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't even ask. I don't think this is exclusive to Muse.
Yes.
Correct.
We're starting exclusive. We worked really closely in this collaboration, so we'll be launching it will be available for pre-order around October 9th.
Yes.
And then from there, we'll be shipping it early November.
May I ask too, what size? Are these the same size pans?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly the
So
same size.
you can flip these guys out and flip these in. Some artists like to depot, and so if you were to flip these out, you could flip those.
Exactly
in
the same. Same fill, same weight, same quality.
So based on that, how much is this palette, and then how much product are you getting?
Sure. Well, this one has 30 shadows, and it retails for $175, and it has a value of $200. So it's another nice way, because it is limited, to say thank you.
So I like it that you guys have been coming out with some new items, but I also like it that you guys aren't saturating the market, coming out with a new product every week. Why do you guys do that? Like,
Take our time.
yeah, take your time and stay true to that.
Because we have a small team that really wants to focus on making great quality product that shows up in the way that it should on a person's skin.
Sure.
And if we just started to allocate limited amount of time to create some, sea drift, the desert, whatever it could be. They're fun ideas, but would the product actually speak the way it needs to speak to, who's going to be wearing it?
Sure.
So we have to be really careful. There's only so much time in the day.
Right.
And we feel really uncomfortable releasing something that isn't quite right.
Right. I think too, some companies, I think their business model might be to, keep the hype and the excitement going every 6 weeks, every 3 months, what have you. And I think what's really important is that, and I applaud Viseart because it really is about what is the plan supporting each audience and bringing consistent high quality product.
Yeah.
To try to become, Viseart has never been interested in becoming a Me Too brand. And as I've seen brands over the course of my career where they start out one way, the next thing they start feeling they get lost and they're focused. And we always have to say to ourselves and to stay in your lane, stay focused on what you do, be consistent, because that is what builds a brand's heritage and respect.
Also, if you spread yourself thin as a business owner, and women business owners tend to do this at times, you can't get A's in every category.
Yeah.
You can't get an A in your home life, an A in your relationship with whoever you're with, and an A in your company. You just can't. You're going to get C pluses. And C pluses is not okay when you're dealing with pro, because people are relying on you for their livelihood. So I take that very, very seriously, and Alphonse and I talk about it quite often, and sometimes we're late delivering something, and we're late because we're not pleased with our results. And it's not because our lab isn't good enough.
Right.
It's not because the people aren't doing their job. It's simply that we've run into some brick walls of how to do something,
Well, I think it's great. I heard this morning, we were on the phone. I was on the phone with Pete, and he takes care of all the operations. He's amazing. And
he is.
and I was saying, and I really feel bad about this one project. There's one color I keep vetoing. It's just not quite right. And part of me starts to feel the guilt because it's business, it's time, it's money.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Don't compromise." I'm like, "Good, I vetoed it 6 times."
Well, 6 more coming.
And it's not for any other reason. It's not because of ego or anything. It's because of what we rely as far as the lay down. If you can't pick it up with a brush, lay it down less than 2 swipes, and see exactly the lay down matches that, then that's not Viseart. It does make a difference.
So the brushes that go into Viseart product are important, and there are many wonderful brushes out there, but we are consistent with how we test this product, and I'll let Alphonse speak to that a little bit.
Sure. It's so funny. I have a little bag, and it's like V brushes. It's like V brushes we all use, only these brushes. And I think it's just really important because that's how we can be consistent to make sure that we're not using different variables. We always get the same type of lay down. So we always work with a sable brush, not for any of the reason that it actually has more control and pick up and lay down. And for us, if the color looks violet, within 2 swipes it should go on and look identical. And if not, that gives us our control. That's what works for Viseart. It doesn't matter really what someone chooses to use in their brushes, just have to understand that a synthetic hairbrush might give them a more sheer application, whereas a goat hairbrush might give a little bit of a medium and a sable might give a fuller. There's no right or wrong.
Right.
It just depends on what the end in mind is and what the application you're looking for.
And brushes do matter.
Yeah,
they do matter.
I like that. So you guys are like scientific with your constants that you use. I like that.
Have to be, absolutely.
So I'd love to come back again and sit down with you so you can talk about brush hairs with everyone.
Brushes.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
All right,
love
great.
that
That would
stuff.
be fantastic for you guys to do that with them. Yeah.
So I know lots of people notice the difference too. You guys know you make my favorite mattes. There is such a difference in the color payout I get, and even if we're calling this one a pigment palette, what makes yours unique in the market?
Alphonse.
Well, we can't quite tell you that secret.
Secret?
That we can't tell you. But the one thing that you can always rely upon is that a Viseart matte shadow is going to, or a matte pigment is always going to give you true color. It will not change color on the skin. There'll be very little fallout, and it'll have really great longevity. So that is some of the brand standards that we have when it comes to making the formulas, and that's all I can tell you.
Okay.
Right. It has a lot to do too with the quality of pigment. So you have some brands out there that are really meant for just a quick everyday woman throwing it in her bag, doing her thing, or man, any teenager. It doesn't matter who it is. But with the Viseart, we need to make sure that it's kind of pigment packed, and then that pigment has to be dispersed properly. And so making sure that you're creating a fine sauce, just like we talked about before. It's like a piccata or any other kind of sauce that you're making, or a wine. There are certain things that have to happen at certain times. And if you don't do it that way, the whole formula is blown up, and you do your 2 swipes with your sable brush, and it's like, we know somebody missed a step.
Right.
And you can trace it back, and we're humans and we make mistakes. So it's, that's part of it. That's what so what you're seeing is a buildup of these steps and these processes and high quality pigments. And we don't replace anything because it ran out. We simply don't build whatever that was at that time until that item is available. And oftentimes we run out of particular pigments.
And then we have to wait.
And we have to wait.
Right.
And then people are like, why are you sold out? Why is it taking so long? Well,
Then we wait.
So I see on the front cover here, it reads volume 1. Does that mean that there's more to come?
Well, it's a work in progress. Yeah?
yes.
It's a work in progress.
Yay!
Let's see how everyone feels.
I love it too. I don't think that I would pop them out just because they're all mattes and I like all the shades, but I do like it that you can build your own if you're traveling. And for me, it'll come in handy like when I'm going on trips. Maybe I don't want to bring the entire wardrobe. I can just pop out 6.
Customize it, make what you want.
Yeah, I like that. And these are so easy. That's what I love too.
Super
I mean, they slide right in the bag, and I do love some of the more like cutesy packaging from some brands, but it's not, it's not very practical to carry around when there's like a giant bubble lid on the top and all these things on the side. I'm like trying to jam it in my makeup bag and it's not fitting.
And that was the concept behind Theory too, because I obviously travel a lot, back and forth between France and the US and other countries, and it's really important to me that I can flip and mix and match. So for this is really lovely to have that ability as an everyday human.
Yeah, everyday human. I know, because I take this and I take your dark mattes, which you don't see up here. I take that and the warm mattes now. So I have like the 3 that I file into my bag everywhere I go, because I know I can do any look that I want with that. And then maybe I'll throw in like one loose pigment, so if I want some like shimmer on my lid or something, I have it. But otherwise, I'm like,
becomes a staple. It's like a jeans or a little black dress or something like that.
Yeah, and it's funny because people were asking me, they're like, how long have you had that? Because now my top is all like my fingerprints still all over. I'm like, I should probably clean them a little more, but that one gets used the most.
Use and abuse is good.
I have it on my eyes today.
Great.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to do some demos for you guys.
Right. So the first thing we're going to do here, this is Ivy, our beautiful model. As you can see, I did one eye, and I'm going to take you from a beautiful basic look into something a little bit more transitional for the season. What we'll be doing is working with the new Viseart Grande Pro Volume 1. All right, perfect. So what we are going to do is I'm going to work with the 3rd row of colors, and what this will do, this will give you a range from a beautiful shell tone all the way up to more of a deep mahogany. And we'll work with these tones because against her blue eye and her coloring, it's going to just really complement her coloring all the way around. I'm going to start with a large filbert shaped brush, and we're just going to press the first shadow all across the eyelid. And we're going to go from under the brow, across the contour, the inner well, and gently press across the base of the lash line. The smoother this step looks, the longer your makeup will wear. The next step, I'll take a traditional eye contour brush, and I will go into a soft mauve tone. And now I'm going to lift the brow and work just with the natural shape of our brow and the natural shape of our ocular ridge. Basically, I'm allowing the brush just to glide along the eye socket bone, moving the brush back and forth into a windshield wiper motion. Perfect. The next step will be to go back and add a little bit more definition into the crease. I'm going to work with more of a burgundy hue and create a little bit more depth. Some of you would refer to this as a cut crease. We'll place the shade down right into the crease of the eye. And then from there, we'll go back to the eye contour brush with nothing on it, and just to begin and diffuse the shade up and outward. We don't want a hard line there unless you're going for more of a 60s influence, but this will actually just give a little bit more definition but keep it soft, approachable, very wearable. As you can see, it begins to build some definition. Final step will be to go into a little square flat edge brush into the deepest shade, the defining mahogany. Look down for me. And I'm going to use this pigment because it's very rich and just press right along the base of the lash line. This will create the illusion of a stronger contrast against the whites of the eyes, as well as it'll give the appearance of a longer lash. Down to toward me. Open. And it gives the illusion of eyeliner. Now you can take it, if that's a little too strong for you, we can basically just diffuse it with a soft little brush and nothing on it. I know in some of the comments from the other videos that we've made in the past is that we make it look very easy. And I think sometimes we do overcomplicate makeup. I think the trick is to use the least amount of makeup, the right tools to get the most beautiful look. From here, I'm going to go back and just add a little bit of definition to the bottom. Look up for me. I'm going with the same deep mahogany shade that we used on top. I'm going to press right on top of the lash line along the bottom lashes. Just connect that corner a little bit, give it a little edge, and then pick up a little bit of the contour shade, look up for me, and just blend. What I love about this, you don't have to have a steady hand. It's not like we're asking the technique to be done with liquid. When you work with rich pigments, it does all the work for you. And then at the point, step back and make sure that the eyes match. Perfect, very pretty. So obviously we worked with this row of colors, and now what we're going to do is take it one step further and have a little fun, and we'll play with this deep fuchsia. I'm going to go back to the eye contour brush. Just dip the pigment into the tip, flake off any excess, and then just go ahead and diffuse this right over the eye socket. By working with a really soft hairbrush, you're going to get a very sheer, almost a watercolor application. And then from here, we can go back and diffuse the colors. There's nothing on this brush. I'm just going to use this to blend the makeup up and out. Oh. And that just gives a little more of that pop of color. So now we're going to work with our beautiful model here, Hawa, and she has a beautiful red undertone to her skin. And we're going to show that with just a couple of simple steps, working in a little bit more of the ochre tones and then going into a rich black. We're going to be able to complement her, bring out the whites of her eyes, and keep it as easy as possible. I'm going to start with a large sable brush going into a deep ochre, and we'll use this as a base shade. Now, obviously the ochre is a little bit of a complementary contrast color to her skin tone, so it's going to give a little bit more of a fresh, easy, made-up look without overpowering her features. The next step from here, I'm going to go into a smaller filbert and go into a very deep, almost a Swiss brown, and we're going to press that along the base of the lash line. Go from the outer corner all the way in across the lash line to the inner part of the lid, and then I'm going to come up onto the lid itself, diffusing the color out. Notice how I'm pressing the pigment into the lid. That's going to ensure a very even application and great longevity. From here, I'm just going to diffuse the two colors together with nothing on my brush. Beautiful. The next step at this point, I'm going to go back and rim the inner eye with a black eye pencil. Look up to that corner for me. This corner over here. Look down to your corner, knee. And toward me. This is going to create strong contrast against the whites of the eyes, but also create a little more depth along the base of the lash line. I'm going to go into the deep black pigment. Look down for me. And we're going to press along the base of the lash line on the top. Down to this corner, please. Right. Look up for me. Same on the bottom. And then I'm going to go back with the brown that we put across the lid. It's like a Swiss chocolate. Look up for me. And I'm just going to diffuse and blend along the bottom lash line. What's great about this tone here, it has enough red to give a natural shading that complements her skin tone. That won't appear ashy. Then I'll take a little bit more and diffuse through, like that, right through the crease. Same tone, a little bit more of a natural shape, contour the inner contour of the eye, just to bring out her natural depth, natural bone structure. And then you have it.
So I want to thank you to Alphonse for being here and demoing products, as well. Anastasia had to run out for a meeting, but just so everyone knows, where can they find this palette and when?
So it'll be available for pre-order on our website October 9th. And then please, if you're coming to the LA Makeup Show, come stop by Muse Beauty, say hello to Anastasia and I. And we're so proud our little Grande Palette is going to be making its debut in LA November 4th and 5th.
Thank you.
And that was it. Yep.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.